All right, welcome to this week's edition of Patch News. And as usual, we have a guest here from the community, and I have with me Danny Cronin with the Spencer Roane County EMS. Welcome to our show, Danny.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, so let's talk about emergency services. Tell me a little bit about your background and history for those that don't know, kind of how you got into this role, and a little bit about EMS.
Well, I was born and raised in Spencer. I mean, you and me played sports together.
A lot of sports together, yep.
After high school, I went into the Navy, became a hospital corpsman, and then that progressed into me becoming an EMT, which I transferred. When I got out of the Navy, I still maintained my EMT. In 2000, I went to Marshall University and became a paramedic, and I've been with the squad since 1997. It's just have progressed up through the ranks, and I'm now the director of operations.
Right, so you transferred your Navy skills right over into Marshall, right into this career, and now you're running the show from Roane County. Tell me a little bit about Roane County Services and what folks need to know, or don't need to know, but would want to know about Roane County EMS.
Okay. Roane County EMS, we currently offer, we have 3 ambulance stations. We have one at Newton, one at the hospital, and one in downtown Spencer. The Spencer and Newton stations cover emergency and non-emergency calls. The truck at the hospital, that's in conjunction with Roane General.
Right.
And what it's there for is it's a secondary 911 truck, and it offers transfer to inter-facilities or other facilities for services that Roane General doesn't have.
Right, so you cover a lot of Roane County and all of Roane County's needs for emergency services through those stations. That's a pretty tall order. So speaking of that, how you managed to get it all done, tell me a little bit about what else you offer for the community, because I know that that's a small part of what you do with the emergency services. You also offer trainings and other stuff. What else do you offer for the community by way of emergency services?
Well, for emergency services, one thing that we've looked at adding and doing is non-emergency transports, especially for people who need to go to doctor's appointments and whatnot.
Right.
That typically don't have any other way, can't ride in the little canal bus, they're bed confined, and they don't meet the medical standard. So one of the things that we've looked at doing is going with at a reduced rate for these people to try to help them out.
And try to help transport people that don't have another option due to their medical situation. That's fantastic. And I know you do a lot of trainings in the community, and regional and statewide as well, so you stay very busy with that. Tell me a little bit about the types of trainings that you do.
We do different types of training. As in for the community, we do mainly community-based CPR and first aid.
Right.
A lot of the training that we do is behind the scenes, sort of what the main aspect of the community doesn't see, but we do training for all the fire departments in the county. Right. We do training from emergency vehicle operations to hazardous material awareness.
Wow.
CPR, first aid, and even when you get into first responder training along with EMT, emergency medical technician training too.
Right, so you've expanded services in Roane County a lot over the last decade or so just by providing all that. And I know you help us out with Patch with our after school and our daycare providers. We all are required to have CPR first aid, and that transfers over into a lot of different entities. So that is fantastic that you're able to have that scope to cover all those trainings that need to happen to be prepared for all these situations. So with that in mind, tell me a little bit about, a common occurrence that happens throughout your day, what you see a lot of, and what you mostly run across in your day-to-day.
Well, one of the most common calls that we get is chest pain calls.
Right.
Typically when we get somebody who's having chest pains, which could be a sign of a heart attack, we don't know until we actually get there. We run some diagnostic tests and we do a 12-lead EKG, and then even then we can't necessarily tell.
Right.
With that, we just ask people that when the paramedics or the EMTs get there, they're going to have some simple questions. They're going to look at the signs and symptoms. They're going to want to know what the patient's allergies are. Are they on any medications?
Right.
What their last oral intake was, and any pertinent history or events prior to what were they doing when the pain started. And those are just some sample type of questions that we need to know. That way it can not only help us do a differential diagnosis and provide the best treatment that we can.
Right, so you can be more accurate. So if someone's with them, let's assume you know, a daughter's with the father or mother figure and they're older and they have chest pains, then they need to start thinking in those terms. Okay, what do I need to tell the EMS when they arrive? What medication are on? So they might go have that handy to have an idea, so you can just tell them. And those other factors you mentioned, that would be extremely helpful. And I could see where that'd be a tense situation, and trying to get that person to remember all that would be hard.
Well, and one of the things that we did during the Walnut Festival, and we'll do it again during the Walnut Festival, or if anyone wants to stop down by the squad, we actually made a card that has the basic demographics: their name, their address, their birth date, who their primary physician is, what allergies to medications they have, what medical history do they have? Do they have a history of heart problems? Do they have a history of breathing problems?
Yep.
Do they have diabetes? Certain predisposed medical conditions.
Right.
And also a list of their medications.
That would be huge, because, you know, if a loved one happens to have chest pains and goes down, that's the last thing on your mind, is trying to figure out what information they need to gather up. But it's vitally important, and that definitely speeds up, as you say, what happens and how quick you can get them treated. So for that, what do people need to know? I mean, you know, again, that's a common occurrence. Is that something that they should do even if they don't have the card with them? That's information? Is that what you would say is the number one thing they need to know in case of emergency?
That's one of the most important things for people. They need to know is they need to know the past medical history. They need to know the allergies. They need to know the medication, and approximately like what time the event started.
So trying to get an idea to put together this case that you're building to help that person maybe save their life and so forth. That's, you know, you got a lot of stuff, and having the cards, that's a great thing, because a lot of times people say, well, I'm not sure what I need to know, but you already have a listed script form. They can just fill it out and they'll be ready for any emergency that happens. Awesome. So tell me something that's new. Now, I know we had the conversation earlier with Sina here from A&M Digital Technologies, and you're talking about some of the new technology that you're incorporating into Roane County EMS to better serve patients. Give us a quick example.
One of the examples is in 2009, the state of West Virginia decided that we would no longer be doing paper run sheets.
Right.
With that, we have been in the process of phasing in using technology, whether it be through cellular data or through Wi-Fi data, that any patient run sheet we do is now electronically submitted. Right. That benefits the state because they get instantaneous data, especially when you're dealing with epidemics such as the flu or whatnot, or if they want to pull data for strokes or trauma accidents, motorcycle accidents, whatnot of that information. It also helps us with building information for grants, number of runs, and things of that nature. Some of the aspects that we have is always before you would see EMTs and medics using these little flip charts. Well, in this day and age, there's always an app for that.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, you can find an app for anything, and you've tracked down some good ones that are helping you speed up patient care. Right. Tell me about one of them.
One of the apps that we found it's called Fast ECG, and how it works is if somebody's having chest pains, for example, I can print off the 12-lead EKG, look at it. I'm going to interpret it anyway, and then once I interpret it, I'm going to take a picture of it.
And this is just for people that don't know what that is, it's a little reader that scrolls out, kind of like a cash register sheet.
Right. It's kind of like a cash register sheet. It's 12 different leads of the heart, or 12 different positions of the heart taken in a 6-second strip.
Right. And so it's going to be a sheet of paper that you have to deal with.
And it looks like squiggly lines.
So it's a graph and a maze all in one.
And the paramedics are taught on how to read and interpret all those squiggly lines. Once we print that off, even the EMTs can print one off, but they can't interpret it.
Right.
So we've gotten this app, this Fast ECG app, so we can actually print this off. They can take a picture of it. We send it directly to our medical command center in Flatwoods, and then from Flatwoods they can look at it, and they can also give that information to go to the Fast ECG website to the receiving facility, so that the receiving doctor in the emergency room can look and see if somebody's having a heart attack. By the time we get there, it's actually reducing what they call the door to needle time, where they can get treatment quicker and stop a heart attack in progress.
So technology is speeding up that care process. Where before you'd have to print it out, wait until you got there, hand it to whoever's on the other end,
Correct.
and then they'd have to take the time. This way they can look at it ahead of time and be waiting for you to show up and already have those decisions made.
And
so care happens fast.
And that's happened several times, even going to our local hospital.
Nice.
Where we've called it in and said, look at this code. This is the 12 lead I've got having an MI, and the ER doctors actually met us at the door.
Right, and I know from the trainings you've done with us, minutes matter. 30 seconds can matter. So anytime you can speed that up, it's great to get that kind of care. So you're bringing that to Roane County to help speed up care, and that's phenomenal. Is there any other ones you want to share that are pretty easy? Or
well, I mean, there's all sorts of different apps that we have. We have apps for when we're dealing with pediatric patients, looking at weight doses and medication doses.
So you're making those conversions via technology, so you don't have to sit down and paper write them out.
Right.
So, okay, you're incorporating a lot of new age technology to speed up care for the Roane County citizens, and that's fantastic. I know everybody talks about the apps, and we were joking about it before. There's an app for everything, but in your field, it's actually increasing care in leaps and bounds.
Correct.
What do you think? What's new? Tell me something new that's happening with EMS. I mean, I know you're already incorporating technology, and that's got to be new. You got to train everybody, teach them how to use it, put the right tools in their hands. What's new with EMS here lately?
New with EMS here lately is we have National EMS Week coming up next month. It is let me get the dates correct, May 19th through the 25th.
Okay, so a couple of weeks. Awesome. Tell me about it. What is that exactly?
It is a national celebration of EMS throughout the nation.
Right.
EMS squads typically do more service, or not so much more services, but they hold events, they give public service announcements on the local radio station, put stuff in the papers.
So it's a campaign to educate people about what you do, what they need to know.
Yes.
Okay, that's fantastic. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. What's that mean locally? Will you have local stuff?
We're going to be trying to get with WVRC to put some stuff on for National EMS Week. We're also going to be holding a free CPR training.
Awesome.
For National EMS Week. For anyone that wants to attend that on the May 25th. That's when we're going to be doing that.
So that's fantastic. You're providing a lot of not only saving lives in the community, but also those trainings and services that people need to know. Because, I mean, we're rural, and that's a hard aspect for us. It's fantastic, but being in a rural community, you don't have a hospital just around the block. You don't have EMS services, on every corner. So we have to rely on people getting trained, realizing signs and symptoms of different aspects of their lives, and being prepared. So that's great.
I mean, our average transport time with a patient, on average, if we're going to Roane General, it's pretty significant, but you also have to look at, we transport to Charleston, we transport to Parkersburg. Our average on time with a patient in the back of the truck is about 45 minutes.
Right, so that's a lengthy time, and it gives you a lot of time to go ahead and prepare that patient for when they get there, which is good and bad. It's a shame to have to drive that far, but that's part of being in West Virginia. That's part of what we love about it. So, all right, if people want to get a hold of you, they have any questions, what's the best way to go about that?
They can get a hold of me at the emergency squad, 304-927-3725.
Okay.
Or they can email me at dannycronin@roaneems.com.
Okay, so if you have any questions for Danny, or you have need to know about trainings or any other upcoming events, get a hold of him those two ways, phone and email. And again, remind us of the date one more time of National EMS Week.
National EMS Week is May 19th through the 25th.
So in that week, we can look for stuff down at the EMS squad to have events, and of course the CPR training. That's fantastic. Well, Danny, we appreciate everything you do for the community. I think it's important to have you on our show and to talk about this, and for people to be able to see it and to understand what EMS is made up of here in our county and all the great stuff you offer. So thanks for all your hard work, and I know your crew, you got a whole crew, 3 crews I guess actually, that work pretty hard to keep everybody healthy and safe here in our county. So we do appreciate it. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
This is Patch News, and we'll be back. And again, if you have any questions EMS related, Danny Cronin here at our Director of the Roane County EMS. And just remember, don't forget, this show is sponsored by A&M Digital Technologies.